Shepherd Neame India Pale Ale. Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer. Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I've got a local beer to me. It's from the Shepherd Neame Brewery that's based in Faversham. And if you want to laugh, write down the word Faversham and ask an American to pronounce it. It'll be really funny. Anyway, what is this? This is an India Pale Ale. Now, you've heard of West Coast Pale Ales, you've heard of East Coast Pale Ales. This is a British Pale Ale. This is where it started. This is where your big hops and your big alcohol content came from. I don't know whether you know, but I'll go into the history of India Pale Ale. What it was a beer that was brewed for the troops that were over in India during the reign of Queen Victoria. And to survive the journey to India on the ships, which took about 6 weeks or so, they packed it full of hops, which are a preservative. And again, this is why hops are quite popular in brewing, because they preserve the beer. Alcohol is also a preservative, and that was brought over with a big high alcohol content, again to preserve the beer. And it was stored in oak barrels. It would mature in them oak barrels. What you drink now on the West Coast, or the West Coast IPA, would be what it tasted like leaving the British breweries. What it got to India, and the true sense of an IPA, is what the British drink. Now, you can argue who's right and who's wrong. To be honest, I don't care. Both taste brilliant. There's brilliant West Coast and East Coast as well. I mean, the East Coast stuff has just taken on a whole new meaning to the word IPAs, but maybe I'm going too much into all the details of it. But Shepherd Neame would have been brewing IPA back in the Victorian times. They've been going since 1698, based down in Faversham, just down the road from me, based in Kent, which is renowned for having the best hops in Britain. I don't care who you are, where you go, but Kent has the best hops. And they are renowned. East Kent Goldens, Styrian and Golden hops from East Kent are some of the best, or from Kent in general, are the best in the world, and they have been doing that since they've been brewing the beer. So enough about that. As I say, Shepherd Neame are an old brewery. They've been going since 1698. They do some fantastic beers. They also do some shit beers as well. But there you go. That's just my opinion. The beers they do good are fantastic. There's the cap. Typical Shepherd Neame cap. Throw it in there. Let's get the nose. Yeah, and again, this is where the difference is. This is a British IPA. What's the first thing that hits you? Malt. It's not hops, it's malt. There's hops in there, but it's roasted malt, roasted toffee and caramel malt that's coming out of that. So let's get it in the glass. And again, look at the colour. That is a sort of a darkish amber colour, which is not something you would expect from an East Coast IPA. Oh, it smells lovely. It smells absolutely gorgeous. Now, there's some British breweries that do great IPAs. Fuller's do Bengal Lancer, which I think is a fantastic. To be fair, I think that's one of Fuller's best beers. I've actually not tasted the Shepherd Neame India Pale Ale. I've seen it so many times, and the label has just put me off. But I sort of bit the bullet yesterday, and I've got a bottle of it. It's 500ml bottle. It's 6.1%. Again, this is down to tradition. The alcohol was acting as a preservative when it was going over to India for the troops. And the reason it took off over here was because the troops came back and they were drinking all the slops that, you know, were being served up. And they said, well, we want the beer that was brewed or given to us in India. Higher hop content, higher alcohol content. And eventually they kept brewing it and stopped sending it to India and started selling it over here. Hence the term India Pale Ale or IPA. So, what we got on the nose, in the glass. Again, big malt. Not much hops, which I would expect from a British IPA. It smells really good. I'm just going to dive in here. Really good. Really good, and as far away from a West Coast, or in fact an American IPA, as you can get. This is typically British. To me, this is what an IPA, an original, traditional IPA, should taste like. I know the Americans have got their own style and they, you know, they're not doing anything wrong, but what they're selling is how IPA would have left the brewery on its way to India. This is what it would have tasted like when it got to India. Big malt, the hops would have subdued a hell of a lot in them oak barrels and matures, and the alcohol would have just, they were probably cask fermented, the alcohol would have risen. So, and of course the malt would have been predominant, and this is what it is, and it's lovely. Oh, it's really good. It's really nice. I don't know why I've avoided buying this. I've seen it on the shelf so many times. I live in Kent. I'm not from Kent originally, but I'm from London originally, but I've moved out of Kent, and I've seen this on the shelves so many times. I've seen it in the shops around the corner. I've seen it in the supermarkets, all the supermarkets, Tesco, Sainsbury's, Lidl's, Aldi's, all sell this. And I've never bothered with it. I don't know why. I just saw the label and I just thought, I don't like the look of that. I wish I had. That is superb. God. This big toffee and caramel malt in that. There's slight hot bitterness at the end of it. And of course you've got the 6.1 alcohol in there. But there's no alcohol burning or no spirit alcohol flavour to it. It's just big malt. A typical British beer, and I love it. So what does it say on the back? A historic brew, yeah, it is, which conjures up images of high seas and faraway places. An IPA encapsulates centuries of brewing tradition. A quintessentially strong and hoppy beer with bold, stirring character. India Pale Ale delivers the magnificently pale in colour. Well, I don't know about that. That's sort of a deep amber. I wouldn't say that. I've lost my place now. Why do I always sound like a fucking bellend when I'm reading off the back of a bottle? Stirring character. Our Pale Ale delivers the magnificent pale in colour. No, it doesn't. And generously bittered. It is bittered with locally grown Fuggles hops. Again, Fuggles hops are from Kent. The high hop rate in this brew originally protected the beer during its arduous journey across the continent. Yeah, it was a preservative, basically. These same Kentish hop notes can be enjoyed for their own sake in this original recipe from Britain's oldest brewer. You have to try this. If you're an American looking at this and you think that you know, the West Coast and the East Coast stuff is as far as IPAs go. This is the original, and Fuller's is pretty similar. I think Fuller's is more subdued. This is fucking full on. It really is. Oh, that's really good. It's really good. There's a lot of fruit in that as well, like dark raisin, and I'm getting notes of, you know, biscuit malt now as well. It's superb, and I'm in the back of my mind, I'm questioning why I've always avoided buying this. It's really good, really, really good. I'd go as far as to say, if you want to taste a true British IPA, Fuller's Bengal Lancer or Shepherd Neame. Two of the oldest. Well, Shepherd Neame is the oldest brewer. Fuller's is quite old as well. That goes back to the mid 1800s, and they were brewing original India Pale Ale for the soldiers that were based over in India. And I think what you're getting here is probably not that. I mean, they wouldn't have been drinking 6.1. Can you imagine a load of British soldiers drinking 6.1 beers in the Indian sun? Jesus, there'd be fucking carnage. But they would be drinking something akin to this. With, you know, the hops would have dissipated in them barrels just to preserve the beer. The alcohol in there and the malts, it would have been fermenting as it was going over there. So I can imagine when it left, it was quite low in alcohol compared to nowadays, but slightly high, and once it got there, the alcohol would have been even higher, with the yeast just attacking all the malt that was in there. But this is lovely. This is amazing stuff. I love it. I absolutely love it. Big toffee, big caramel malt, hot bitterness on it, but also a lot of fruit as well. Superb. So what would I give this? This has been a great day for me. I've had the Stone IPA from the Stone Brewery, which is legendary. Well, probably the best West Coast IPA I've tasted. I've tried this stuff, the Snake Dog from the Flying Dog Brewery. That was really good. That got a 9 out of 10. And I got this. I've also tried the Innocent Gun stuff as well, which was slightly disappointing, but this is more than made up for it. Shepherd Neame, and I do have a couple of problems with this brewery that I won't go into now, but they do some shit, don't get me wrong, but this is fantastic. This is amazing stuff. Get it. It's up there with their 1698, which is a superb ale. It's their centenary ale or commemorative ale. That is amazing stuff. You got this stuff as well. They do a Whitstable Bay Ruby, which is really good. They also do some other stuff. Avoid the Master Brew and all that. Bishop's Finger is quite nice. That's quite tasty. This for me is really good. So I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10. It's that good. As British IPAs goes, this is a 10 out of 10. And would I recommend it? Yes, 100%. Brilliant. Fantastic stuff from Shepherd Neame. And remember, beer is working class champagne.